Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tragedy into Triumph podcast. I am joined today by one of my very dearest friends, man. His name is Derek Radcliff, and Derek is the worship director at Heritage Church in Circleville. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Hey, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Derek and I used to do, like a 3 o'clock service called No Excuses, and that's where we got linked up. And one of the cool things about that time together and that time in our lives was we were searching for songs that had a positive spiritual impact in our lives that maybe people that didn't know Jesus might connect with. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And so it kind of led us on this cool discovery as the music that maybe is not the music you would hear in church, let's say, but music that if I'm jamming to in my car, music I'm listening to while I'm working out, all of a sudden the message in the music catches me off guard, and I start to think about things in my life or direction, or start to think, this would be the goal. What does God want from me? Or how can God move my life from, tragedy into triumph? So for us, we thought it'd be cool. We were meeting together a few months ago and just had this crazy idea. Like, it would be awesome to have a podcast where all we did was talk about positive music that can take you from tragedy into triumph, that might be music you wouldn't necessarily hear in church. Just might be kind of cool for us to talk about.
Yeah,
so
great.
So, Derek, man, I'm so glad you're here. By the way, if you're on Apple Music, Spotify, or whatever, you should look up Derek Radcliff. One of the best musicians ever that I've ever known is the guy that's sitting here with me, and he won't like that label. Like, I saw him cringe when I said that, but I'm flat out serious. One of the best musicians ever. Anyways, Heritage gets a treat when he leads worship there. I'm gonna say that for sure, man.
I appreciate it, man. It's been fun. This guy next to me really believes in me a lot. So a lot of the stuff when we did Tragedy and Triumph, you kind of came forward and was like, "Hey, man, we need somebody to play, and we'll get you taken care of and write." So like, I didn't really write until like 3 months into it.
Yeah.
So, and all these songs just started pouring into my head, and so yeah, it was huge opportunity, and just it was phenomenal. I loved it when I was younger, for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And don't be fooled. He still loves music. It's just it's different now too. Isn't it?
I'm in a jazz phase right now. It's really weird.
All right. For everybody listening, we ain't talking about jazz.
No,
I'm
we're
just
not.
gonna tell you right now. And listen, I'm in like a 80s synthwave saxophone mood right now too. But we're gonna go back to our first love, which is rock music.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
So Derek, as you think about like your life and this spiritual journey that you've been on, let's go classic rock. What's some songs in your mind that, man, God's used to kind of make you think about your life, to think about your relationship with Him or living? So go for it, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, I grew up, my dad was a Beatles fanatic, so I was, you either a Beatles fan or you're a Rolling Stones fan. My dad was a Beatles fan, and they really were the positive impact in my life, just to love music. One of our favorites was In My Life. It's not like one of their most popular, I Want to Hold Your Hand. It was really actually kind of came down to, the coolest thing is, like, when you look in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I got to actually see what it was written on, and it was a piece of cardboard, and I just stood there looking at it like, this is the song that meant the world to me. And it's just basically, John kind of looks like he just reminisces about life and just how grateful he is to be living life. There are places I remember, some have come, some have remain. All these places have their moments, lovers and friends. But in my life, I love them all, and then it kind of gets more personal, just about like, through all these friends and lovers, there's no one that compares to you. And that just kind of meant more for Christ for me. And then these memories lose their meaning, but when I think of love, there's something new. And I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. And I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love them all. It's just kind of a ballad for me, just realizing like the people that have invested in me, and just my whole point in life, that just how that kind of grew into what I love. And, I mean, that's one that I would maybe say 60s decade that kind of stuck out to me. I mean, you have like Spirit in the Sky, which was a very
Yeah.
positive plus, but that, I don't know, that song out of those, there was a lot of songs that just made me think. I think sometimes we just listen to it because I'm a big guy that likes music that just has a good beat, a good rhythm, and just rocks. But yeah, there was a lot of songs that just made me think twice, like in that area for especially that. Maybe the Birds Turn 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 was another one
Yeah.
because it comes straight out of
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes. There's a time for this, a time to love, a time to hope, a time to laugh, a time to cry. It just a lot of those songs. I like songs that just make me think. I don't think I do that enough,
Yeah.
especially with rock. Because it's just like give me the heaviest beat you got, and I can just drive real fast. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I had this guy like years ago. He was this kid. I was talking about music, and he told me, he was like, so I think I got it. I'm serious. He was like 15, maybe I'm like 22, 23, and I'm his youth pastor at the time. And he was and it was on music. We're talking about music, but I've just never forgotten him. His name's Ryan Furness. Ryan came to me afterwards and he was like, so I get it. I think what you're trying to tell me is that we're supposed to be filters and not sponges. I always love that because, and literally, his words have made an impact on how I consume music. Because, I'm probably a guy that to turn on uh, Chris Tomlin, I'm just not that, like, I'm just not going to do that.
yeah,
That's not what's going to speak to me.
yeah,
But I'm going to be a filter, not a sponge, and I'm trying to find that song that just really connects and makes me think on a whole nother level. Like the lyrics, the music means something to me. The lyrics mean more because of
yeah,
how they connect with me spiritually and mentally and emotionally too,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if I went classic rock, I'm thinking Simple Man.
Absolutely.
I mean, man, is there a more iconic, like, think about your life song than Simple Man?
No, I mean it's solid. I mean, especially it's like the whole ballad of mom just giving you the best advice for life and sticking to it. And I mean, and then yeah, just that whole song is just being simple. Don't be this over like I need to find success in other places. Like it talks about forget the lust and the rich man's gold. All that you need now is in your soul. And man, like that's so true with
Y-
everything.
Yeah,
Especially if you're looking for those lyrics that are just big. And don't forget that there's something up
up
above,
above.
which makes you think like, okay, what's he mean by that? And I love stuff where artists write like that, and it's just kind of like this or I don't know, what do you call this? Cliffhangers where you're just kind of like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, cool, yeah, okay, what's that mean? So it makes you want to search more. And I don't know, some of these artists we will never know if that's what they meant, but man, that song, I mean,
yeah,
obviously it's huge with that.
yeah. And did Ronnie write that? Just Ronnie wrote that, I think, or
I,
did Gary Rosington write that? I don't know. We need to look that
I'm
up
gonna have to look
sometime.
that up, yeah,
I
but
but you know what's cool is and I was reminded of this. So you had Ronnie Van Zant and Leonard Skinner. Then you had Donnie in 38 Special.
hmm
Ronnie passes away, and Johnny steps in and becomes the lead singer of Skinner. But Donnie and Johnny created an album called Van Zant. Did you ever listen
yeah,
to that album?
yeah,
And they had a song in there, just help somebody if you can.
yeah, get right with the man,
Yeah, and
yeah,
get right with me. And
yeah.
that whole album, that was a great album.
Yeah, because was it "Don't Get Too High on a Bottle"? Like
Yeah,
it was another
yeah,
Simple Man version of just,
it was. Yeah,
and it was cool just to see him back.
and yeah, and I remember the line in there. And if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
remember that
Don't
song.
get your
Man,
high on a bottle. Um, and help somebody if you
if you
can.
can,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
get
was a cool one too.
get
So
right with the man. No, those are good ones, man. I forgot about that one.
yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah.
That's a good one.
All right, so classic rock. We just jokingly we were talking before we started recording this, and we were like, "All right, well, we kind of went classic rock. What would we find in the '80s?" And then we were like, "I don't know. Maybe we should go to the '90s."
Yeah, because
I mean, I feel like there's something like maybe, and it just made me think about life. Maybe I want to go back by Eddie Money,
Hmm.
maybe just and do it all over, but I can't go back. I know that was kind of a cool song. I remember in the '80s. It made me think about life a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something else. There's got to be deeper stuff in the '80s. It wasn't just all
Yeah.
like nothing but a good time. I mean, it'd be
I know.
something else.
I was trying to look through my list. I was even looking like 70s. I don't know. There was just some. I mean, I was thinking like, man, what about Fleetwood Mac? And I'm like, man, no, they were too busy fighting at each other. Them created these great albums like Rumors.
Bruce, great,
Like
yeah,
Rumors was
great
a
though.
total. I mean, how did that? You think about it, like how did they get along to make such a great album? But they couldn't
Man,
stand looking at each other.
they couldn't, but it was awesome. Yeah, I'm.
I guess maybe Don't Stop would be a good
Don't
one.
stop. Yeah,
Yeah, because like Yesterday's Gone. Because I think sometimes we just focus on, and this has hit me more in my life now. Like as a teacher, I hate bombing music lessons. Like I've had those days where you just, I mean, you have that day where you're just like, I didn't. This could have gone way better, and it flopped. And I used to get so stuck on that, and I would just be so upset with myself. Like it, don't, it's gonna, when the sun rises the next day, it's a new day. I get to do the opportunity again. And my mindset has to get that way because I can get so negative so quick. So I don't know, maybe that song would fit for me because it's a good reminder. I know it's kind of fun, but
all right, all right.
give me
That's
that
good.
one.
Yeah,
Give me
no,
that one.
I like that one
Yeah.
actually. And let me give a nod to the most downloaded song of all time from the '80s. Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
true.
mean, I mean, there's a lot of spiritual connections. Believing in yourself,
Yep.
believing. Jonathan Cain, who's been to Tragedy and to Triumph, the guy that wrote that song with Steve Perry, he's like now that song, like he's written a whole nother verse that has he's
Really?
tacked onto it. That's about his faith in Christ and don't stop believing
Oh wow.
in Jesus. So maybe let me give that nod
No, I
there.
think that's fair. I think
Yeah,
that one. I mean, shoot, Wheel in the Sky would be another one that's
Wheel in
pretty
the
good.
Sky.
That's a
That'd be good.
fantastic one.
And yeah, I think that could work. Yeah.
I don't know. I think like I don't know. There was one Dust in the Wind. I know these are silly, and I think of every movie that they're connected to rather than a song in the. But like it just makes you ponder about life. That there's got to be more than what I'm living every day, and that just I don't know. These are just some songs.
Carry on, my wayward son. Like
Fantastic.
the last line of Carry On, where he says, "Surely heaven waits for you."
Yeah,
Like Carrie Livgreen said, I'm not sure why I put that in,
yeah,
but after I became a Christian, now I know why I put that. It
yeah,
was God saying, "Surely heaven's waiting for me."
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and yeah, no, I agree with those. I mean, you can't really go wrong with like Journey and
yeah,
Kansas on that stuff, you know.
yeah.
Same with like all that stuff. But yeah, I mean those would be good ones, man. Classic rock, there's so much. I just don't know where to start, I guess.
Eagles, peaceful, easy feeling. I mean,
Hmm.
there's some Eagles songs that are just incredible.
Well, the crazy thing is with that song, I've heard somebody do Amazing Grace over
Yeah,
top of it,
I
and
have
it
too.
worked.
I
And I was
know.
like,
I was like, that actually is pretty cool.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
worked so well. But yeah, I mean, like those would be big ones for me. Yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's go modern rock era. We're
Okay.
talking modern rock. So, and in full disclosure, I'm only like 29. Derek's, I think he's a little older than me.
Yeah. Right.
I'm 52. So, Derek, you're 10 years younger than me.
Yeah, I'm 30. Yeah, I'm 36, 37. I don't even know.
Oh, so 16 years younger than
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, 16.
But
So, what's cool though is we're different music eras, but man, there's a lot of connection. I like different music ages, I should
yes.
say, but we're
Yeah.
we're connected in the same
Yeah.
era for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, I was pretty sheltered in the 90s, so I didn't really get to the 90s until I was like a teenager. And then I started actually I'm really starting to listen to the grunge scene and all that stuff a lot more in that era. But yeah, 90s, I mean, more like 2000s, I can definitely see more stuff than what I would have. But yeah, that absolutely was like 90s what I would had to have to think about too. So you would probably
Not
have more of a
90s. I mean, what Creed's first album came out like 99 or
90, yeah,
so My Own Prison 98 or 96.
98, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got My Own Prison in there
Hmm.
that I remember hearing My Own Prison and thinking, what on earth? I've never heard anything like this,
Yeah.
And especially that Gabriel stands and confirms, I create my own prison.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember thinking, man, and in that song, I'm a new dad. I've got a 2-year-old. In that song, when I remember when it came on the radio, I'm thinking, man, I don't want to create my own prison. I want to get this right. I've got a kid. I want to get life right.
Yeah.
And then I'll never, on their second album, um, when they had the song "Can You Take Me Higher,"
Oh yeah. Higher was good.
Higher was incredible.
Absolutely.
But then when they with Arms Wide Open, because I was having kids, I remember I was literally going to work, and with Arms Wide Open came on. I'd never heard it before on the radio. And I had a whole cry fest in the car. Like, man, I got to be a good dad. It really made me think about my life and what I was doing in a positive way. Like, I want to get this right for my kids, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was when Human Clay came out, it like kind of exploded now again there was a little bit of that, well, are they a Christian band or are they this, but they, clearly there was something there, kind of small messages that was just positive, especially those songs for sure. I mean, for me, POD was kind of a start for me. Like when Southtown came out and all that, like, because I actually, it's so funny because I just introduced POD to my daughter, and she's like, she's not a big heavy rock. Like, she hates when they start screaming and stuff. But when we listen to Set Our Eyes to Zion, like, she's like, what is this? And she loves the reggae beat. And it's just cool. Like, if you read it, just like what it's pointing towards, and you're like, what's Zion, first off? What's this? And just the positive lyrics of like that. But yeah, they were a huge part of my life, of getting me to look that direction. And it's funny because I told, because Sonny was been a big part of our life.
Yeah,
huge part of my life. And like, he's just like, I was just telling her like how we kind of met and everything. I said, man, when I quit listening to you guys, that's when I started to fall.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until I got back on the bandwagon, or I got my life situated and fixed, and I started listening to you again, and it changed. And I said, you're the reason why I had that hope for a long time, And I'm pushing up ahead, but when Youth of the Nation it comes up, I lose my mind, because that was my generation.
Yeah.
You're realizing like all the things that I struggle with in life, he's writing about. Like, it just breaks your heart. Like, but that's my generation. I should be investing in them, And that song, every time it comes on, it just brings back those memories and flows back. I know we're jumping ahead a couple.
No, it's good. Satellite. Just the song Satellite, man. I remember the first time I'm running, the first time I hear that song, got headphones on, and how clear it must look from there to here, no corruption, destruction, and just this thought. I'd never made this connection that God is this satellite that like sees everything. I always know God sees everything, but the equating God to a satellite was just awesome for me. And I remember thinking, man, this is such a cool concept. One of my kids, even this summer, was listening to Satellite, and they were like, man, Dad, I had no idea how awesome that song really is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, that was one. Alive was great by then.
Alive was a huge one.
Yeah.
That's like, feeling for the first time. I can't deny you. I feel so alive. Sunshine upon my face. I don't know what it is about the word, seeing the sunrise. It gets me every time when I see something like that. That's kind of like that. It's a new day dawning. I'll tell you another group that really got me too. And this would be more like, 90s early, was Foo Fighters. I owe a lot to the Foo Fighters. Learn to Fly was a big one for me, because there's this constant search. Yeah. If anything could,
feel this good forever.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Or but yeah, like looking to the sky to save me, looking for a satellite, making my way back home where I learned to fly. Like, it's this whole like searching mode that I don't know what he was writing about, but just that really focused me. I do have one about them that for sure really jacked me up and caught me to look a different direction.
All right, let's go to that. I want to just read, because in the moment I couldn't remember. But check this out from Satellite. I wonder how clear it must look from there to here. No obstruction, this selfish corruption, all in this atmosphere. No fears, less tears. Only time to catch my breath. I fail to inhale. Your love constricts my chest. Confusion blinded me, mental and physically, and it's because of you now that I can see. So now I can run. I follow the sun and ride on to Zion and dance the last song to freedom. Like those, man, awesome. There's Zion again, right?
Yep.
Like what's he talking about,
Yep.
right? Yeah, just incredible. As I look up to the sky today, I can see you looking down on me. It brings a smile to my face again to
Hmm.
know God, satellite that God, you're watching me. Just such a
No, that's a good
awesome.
one, man.
Yeah. All right. So what's your Foo Fighters one, man?
So I have to go back to I was at a point in my life where I was really making a decision, is this where I'm going or if I'm going to walk a different path? And in the middle of this really happened, like I was pretty out of my mind. They came out with Echo, Silence, Patience, Grace, which to me is my favorite album of theirs because it has The Pretender on it. It's
Oh
got
yeah.
Let It Die, which, that you can go any way with that. A lot of people think that was written about horny love and the whole, it was kind of like his way of saying it, but there was one called Come Alive, and that song, it was me at that point in my life. It talks about, seems like only yesterday, life belonged to runaways, nothing here to see, no looking back, everything just my life began to fade into a black, just a simple animal sterilized in alcohol. I could hardly feel me anymore. A desperate, meaningless, all end up in emptiness. Looked like everything was said and done. And the chorus is what always gets me. It's I lay there in the dark and I closed my eyes. You saved me the day that you came alive.
Hmm.
But then it goes, no reason left for me to survive, but you saved me the day that you came alive. And I don't know what it is about that, but I was in the midst of making a decision that would wreck the rest of my life, and that song came on, and it honestly pointed me where I needed to go.
Man.
And I mean that song wrecked me. And at the end, it's like I lay in there in the dark, opened my eyes, you saved me the day you came alive. Now I don't know what Dave was writing about at that time. It could be about his there's that's a whole nother situation going on now, but like
Yeah.
that, to me, that song is why I'm still here. Cause it just, like, I was in the midst of just completely throwing everything away and just saying, God, I don't need you anymore. I don't think you're real. And he did save me the day that he came alive. And when I allowed him in my life, because I was that guy that was just in a dark spot, and that's where my focus was. And
Man.
and that song really changed my life. I can't listen to it because when I do, I get teary eyed because I remember where I was.
Yeah.
And man, that was a song that positively, when I'm feeling bad, realizing where I was in that state, that gets me back up on my
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you've got to have those too. I mean,
oh man, I do. I do. I mean, especially like, I was a big Boston fan, classic rock, and when Brad Delp had that side project called RTZ, Return to Zero, they had that song Face the Music, and I remember being so far away from God and snorting cocaine and the line about you can get it because it's everywhere. Temptation hides behind every stair, and when you get it, it makes you feel good.
yeah.
You don't regret it, but maybe you should. And man, I'm doing drugs, and that line, you don't regret it, but maybe you should. I can't tell you how God used that line in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Like what am I doing? You know?
Isn't that crazy how it does that though? Because I didn't think about that. Because I mean, I never really listened to lyrics at that time. I was
Mhm.
just like, what's heavy, what's good, and that song, like, it just literally said, this is my life, and just the fact that he died for me, and he came alive in my life by me allowing him to be in my life. Like, I just realized, what am I doing? I
Yeah,
want to be all in, and so that song just ever since that it just hit me because it was me. So I
man.
mean that was definitely.
Have you read Dave Grohl's book?
I have not yet.
Okay, full disclosure, I didn't read it. I listened to it on audiobook as I rode around
Yeah,
and drove around. Honestly, he said one of his heroes, one of the people he always wanted to meet was Little Richard.
really.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and what little Richard's son catches Dave, he sees him, and this limo pulls up, and little Richard pops out. Do you know that story? It's just so cool.
yeah. Because does it go "God bless you" or something like
Well,
that?
he
Yeah.
was like, "Man, put your faith in Jesus." Like he just like full on
Really?
witnesses to him. It was a pretty cool, like a crazy story.
Yeah.
And then Dave did a funeral for somebody, and he quoted the words from the hymn "Precious Lord, take my hand,
Hmm.
which I just, I think too, look, like because I mean, I'll just throw this out there. I 100% believe there's a heaven and a hell. I 100%, there's no doubt that there's a God in heaven who sent his son Jesus, died on the cross, rose again for my salvation. I got zero doubts about that. Zero. Which means that there is always this spiritual component that God's always trying to talk to people, woo them, and every person, we all question our mortality. We question what's going to happen when I die.
Yeah.
We question what kind of a mark am I going to leave on this world, right? So those human emotions, everybody's feeling them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me how God can use what happens in somebody else's life to connect in a way with you. I love how the Spirit, that may not have been what Dave was talking about.
No.
But I love how the Spirit was like, hey, Derek, I'm going to talk to you about this through this.
Yeah.
It's just, that's one of my favorite things, man.
Oh, I know. And I think that's something that's so underrated that we don't necessarily see. Like some of these songs, like we can name it. We're naming them as we go. I mean, people are going to be listening to this are like, oh man, that one song was the same thing for me. And I can tell you, I mean, they're probably thinking it as we're speaking about all these songs that are positive. Yeah, I mean, they're just a huge impact. I mean, that song really is. I mean, I literally was driving home high and drunk at the same time, completely out of my mind, and somehow I ended up at my house.
How about
and
it?
that's where and that song was playing.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like I could have been listening to Pretender. I could be listening to Erase, Replace, Statues. Like all those songs are fantastic. Home, which makes no sense. I mean, just all that stuff. But that was the song that just snapped me out of it. I mean, even other songs like we used to do when we did 3 p.m.
Yeah.
As much as Nickelback gets bad rep, bad as the worst. By the way, side note, they're not.
They're not.
They're not. I mean, he like Chad is I'm not a fan of him, but like his music, like some of the stuff they wrote was fantastic. Like,
what's so crazy to me? They could have something. So this is Filter and Sponge, right? Yeah. Man, you could pull up a Nickelback album and play a song, and it was like, I cannot and won't listen to that.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next song, and it's like deep spiritual lyrics. You're like, man, one song is about everything you shouldn't do, and the next song is like, man, I'm questioning everything, or
exactly.
Like if everyone cared.
That's the one I was gonna say.
Yeah.
The Day That Nobody Died. Yeah. I mean, it is such a good song. Like, if we would change our ways, then nobody would die.
Yeah.
I mean, even their music video. What was the one where it had everybody had the time numbers on them? You know what I'm talking about?
Was that the one? What are you waiting for?
Prison gates won't open up for me.
Yeah.
All I see, show me what it's like to be the last one standing. Teach me wrong from right. Yeah. That music video is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because like if you have never seen it, it's like everybody has like this guy can see, he pushes some lady from getting hit, and all of a sudden he sees all of these numbers, and it's older, younger, and it's counting down, and like you eventually see an old lady, and it's like down to like seconds, and she passes away. But then he ends up like pushing somebody out of the way, and then that girl sees all of that. Like, if you could see someone's timeline, how much would it change you? But that music video was so impactful to me. And I know they get a bad rep, but
they do. But man, they wrote like, okay, so here's an underrated Nickelback song that made me think about life big time. So the song is "What Are You Waiting For?"
Yeah.
Okay. Are you waiting on a lightning strike? Are you waiting for the perfect night? Are you waiting till the time is right? What are you waiting for? Don't you want to learn to deal with fear? Don't you want to take the wheel and steer? Don't you wait another minute here? What are you waiting for? You got to go and reach for the top. Believe in every dream that you've got. You're only living once. So tell me, what are you waiting for? I mean, it was so positive lyrics, you've got to give it your all, and don't you be afraid if you fall. You're only living once, so tell me, what are you waiting for? And then you got the bridge is what always got me, where he said, don't you want to spread your wings and fly? Don't you want to really live your life? Don't you want to love before you die? What are you waiting for? Yep. Such a positive song, man.
Oh, it is, man.
Anyways.
It makes you think. Yeah, I know they get trashed, and I'm one of those people that trash them. But man, you can't deny that they wrote some great positive stuff. Like, that just affected us. And I remember we introduced that song. I mean, we played it all the time.
Yeah.
Because it does, if everybody cared about not themselves, but somebody else, we'd see people, not die.
Yeah.
Not spiritually. I mean, even that. But yeah, that was always a good one for me.
So a good one for me too. Man, this is not an honorable mention because I got to mention them. Is Three Doors Down,
Oh yeah.
and they're man, they have so many good ones that'll really make you think about life. But they had a song on their greatest hits album called "There's a Life." If you're listening to this, you should check out that song because it's there's a life I'm chasing. It that always stays one step ahead of me, and
Hmm.
it's this cool thought about there's a life that I'm chasing. Every time I heard it, made me think about there's a life I'm chasing in heaven. It's one step ahead of me, but I'm gonna get there one day,
Hmm.
and that's the life I'm chasing. I'm not chasing what's down here. I'm chasing a life that's in heaven forever with God.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
anyways,
Man, there's so many.
there's so many.
I think like another one was like John Mayer's "Something's Missing" or
Oh,
"Gravity." Like
incredible.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of him
Me
anyway.
too.
If he would, I mean, small shout out, like if he could just go back to writing like continuum stuff, then I'd love him even more. But and I appreciate what he's done, but like "Something's Missing" was one that made me think like how much that people put into material things and just how they just dive into other things, but I don't know what it is, but something's missing in my life and I don't know how to fix it. And I've tried to use, things in my life to cover it up and it doesn't seem to satisfy. So that one, Gravity's another one that just hits me because it's just like where you feel down and out and then just, you know what? I'm gonna keep me where the light is
Yeah,
another one that hits me. And those are big ones. I mean, we could do this all
we
day. I mean,
could. Like something's missing. I love at the end when he's like, uh,
yeah,
microphone check,
yeah,
um, you know, oxygen check,
yeah,
well fed check.
yeah.
He's got all these check marks, but still something's missing in his
Something is
life.
missing in his life.
Yeah,
Yeah, big
yeah,
one. I
yeah.
mean, those are huge.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, I feel like just a couple more. And by the way, y'all need to be listening to some of these songs too because they're awesome.
Yeah.
Um, like I feel like I got to mention Shinedown. I can't. I just can't not mention Shinedown.
Oh, dude, us and them albums phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Have you listened to Symptom of Being Human?
Yeah, that one's been getting
Oh
me
my
lately.
word. I yeah.
Yeah.
I yeah. If you've kind of ever wondered, does anybody ever feel like me? Does anybody ever question my existence,
Hmm.
or does anybody ever feel like they don't get things right? You should really listen to "Symptom of Being Human." That's a powerful song.
That's a good one.
Tammy and I. That's my wife. Honestly, Shinedown is my wife's favorite band. She loves Shinedown.
Yes.
Anyways, Tammy was like that. I, I remember us listening to their latest album together, and it was like that's an iconic song. Like that,
Hmm.
it's a powerful message song. So I'm
I'm
gonna
trying
throw
to.
that
I
out.
was gonna say I'm trying to think of one that put your hands in the air.
Oh yeah, put your hands in the air
Yeah.
if you feel me out there. I've been
Looking
looking for
for
you
you
day
day
and
and
night.
night.
Yeah,
Shine a light in the dark.
yeah.
Let me
You
see
see
where
where
you
you
are.
are?
Because I'm not gonna leave you behind. If I told you you were not alone.
Yeah.
And if I told you this is where you belong, it's just they have some man. They do have some pretty. Their ballads, I guess you could call
I
ballads,
mean, yeah.
pretty like just about you're not alone.
That song actually, and the song you're talking about is Unity.
Yes,
That's the
that's
name
the
of the
one.
song,
Was that
and
off Amaryllis? Is that?
that was off
Yeah, I
Amaryllis.
remember that one.
And then even off Attention, if you haven't listened to Get Up, that's
Hmm.
such a powerful song
Hmm.
on attention. Threat to Survival. I loved State of My Head,
Yeah.
where he's like, I got my own foundation with no hesitation.
Yep.
Like that's such a cool, like
Hmm.
man, I always think of like the world, like you know what, in God, I got my own foundation.
Yeah.
There's no hesitation there. I'm good with that,
Yep. No,
So
they do some great stuff. I'll even go to this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm picking like bands that everybody trashes, but like even myself. But Imagine Dragons' first album was phenomenal because there was a lot of that. Like there was one called Demons, and it was about
yeah.
don't get too close. It's dark inside. I'm a mess, but I gotta. Oh, what does he say? Give me a second. I'm thinking here. I gotta. I gotta look it up. Give me a second. I gotta look it up because that was a good one. Basically, don't get too close to me because that's where my demons hide.
Hide, yeah.
But I gotta remember there's one part where he talks about um, I can't escape this now unless you show me how, is what I remember it saying, or something like that. Man, I'm blanking on this. Sorry.
Oh no, it's good. While he's looking that up, um, Demons lyric. Yeah, here they are.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
trying to.
it's I don't want to let you down, but I'm hellbound. No matter what we breed, we are still made agreed. This is
Yeah,
my kingdom come. But it's the bridge that gets me. It says that they say it's what you make. It's up to fate. It's woven in my soul. I need to let it go. Your eyes, they shine so bright. I want to save that light. I can't escape this now unless you show me how.
yeah,
So there's that glimpse of I know I've got a lot of junk in my life, but I can't escape it unless you show me how to do it.
that's
And
good.
that song always hit me. But yeah, that song from that album was pretty stellar to me too.
All right, since we're on, like, okay, here we go. I, man, especially later, and I know everybody that knows me is going to go, I have lost all confidence in you, Wendell, after I say this. But Papa Roach, dude, their song, like, um, uh, they had a song, I'll follow you out of the dark. I've tried it my way,
hmm
but I keep falling apart. That's the name of the song, Falling
Okay,
Apart.
yeah.
Such a man,
Mhm.
just powerful lyrics. And Jacoby kind of says he's a believer now. I saw a post from him the other day where he was congratulating a friend for being baptized, and he was like another brother in Christ. How cool is that?
That's
For
awesome.
him to go from
Mhm.
cut my life into pieces,
Oh,
this
I
is my
know.
last resort.
Yeah.
I mean, to writing songs that have positivity. So I got to mention this. So, I don't know if everybody knows this, but man, my dad like fell away. He was like a pillar, and then he did some things he shouldn't, and it was just really tragic for our family. Like my dad got arrested, and just it was a mess, right? And I forgave him. My dad passed away, 3 years later after all those horrific events, and we got closure and had conversations and things. But off Papa Roach's latest album, have you heard their song "No Apologies"?
I think just a little bit.
Man, here's the lyrics, and for everybody, if you've harbored any bitterness or struggled with anybody, I just want you to hear these lyrics. I hope you know you don't have to say you're sorry. You don't have to live with the heartache you keep, because I don't need no apologies. I tried to write you out to get some closure. The more the years went by, we got cold shoulders. The more I realized as I got older, we can turn it all around. So don't beat yourself into the ground. I hope you know you don't have to say you're sorry. And then the second verse, I know you tried your best. I know you struggled. The cards that you got dealt, they gave you trouble. Now I see the you in me, and I see double. We can turn it all around.
Mm.
Such a positive song. And it makes me think about really the relationship that I had with my father, and how literally, I got to a point with him where I was like, man, you don't owe me anything. It's okay.
Yeah.
Um, because the surest thing, everybody that's listening, the surest thing that's going to happen in your life, somebody's going to let you down.
Yep.
Somebody is.
Yep.
And how you respond to that is really gonna be the difference between your personal success or failure, your own spiritual success or failure, in actually what God could do in your life even.
Mm.
So listen, there's a lot of great positive music.
Mhm.
There really is,
Yeah.
man. And listen, I know we talked a lot about like secular music, man. I'm not telling you don't listen to worship music. I just want to go on the record.
I know.
I,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember riding in the car with Sonny Sandoval from POD, and I was like, "So what are you listening to?" And he's like, "Man, I just got to have worship music." And I was like, "That's awesome." Yeah, I'm just saying to everybody, you listen. Please be a filter though,
Mm.
and don't just absorb everything that this world has to offer. There is because there's a God, and he's good, and his spirit lives in our universe. His spirit is going to do all sorts of things to bring positivity to your life, to remind you of your meaning, your purpose, to remind you of what he wants to do in your life. So really, at the core of this conversation, is just from a couple of guys to say, make sure you're listening to what God's saying when you're listening to music. How's that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and you won't realize some stuff will hit you later that you listened to before, and you're like, man, that's absolutely where I need to be. But yeah, just don't listen because of music's sake. Listen to lyrically because I think it can impact your life more than you think. Some artists have a certain way they write, but there's some stuff out there you're just like, man, that really does hit me. I mean, and you've heard it from both of us. Like, it's really impacted us. So
Yeah.
just be listening
Yeah.
and thinking. Honestly.
Yeah, that's a good word and a great wrap up for us. So thanks, Derek, for joining us, and thanks everybody for listening, man.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
hey, seriously, we should probably do this again sometime.
Absolutely, because I just thought of another one.
I know we should probably do this again. So everybody listening, you'll probably hear another one of these before too long. So thanks for listening, and listen, may God always bring triumph to your life, and may you never know and never be defined by the tragedies alone. God bless
you. May your peace come in, let it fill our hurt, may it be our strength, and as your blood